Uh, Let's begin our board meeting today, and I want to start with acknowledging the special purpose of this special board meeting, which is to present and discuss a major design-build contract for Phase 2 of the 2nd Avenue subway, which includes construction of tunnels and stations all the way from starting at 96th Street, but the contract starts at 116th Street, coming up 2nd Avenue, and then across to 125th and Park, actually going all the way to Lenox Avenue. There are no other matters on the agenda. So, as is our normal process, let's hear a safety announcement, and then we'll hear from public speakers.
Good morning, everyone. Your safety is of the foremost importance to the MTA, so please listen to the following instructions. Please note that both exits are clearly marked at both ends of the room. If you see or experience an emergency, please contact emergency personnel stationed in the back of the room or call 911. Please follow all audible instructions or visible instructions on the screen if told to go to another floor or to evacuate. Please follow all instructions given by building personnel. If you have a mobility disability and need assistance evacuating, please see building personnel stationed in the back. Thank you and have a safe day.
Thank you, Lucille. And Ruby, may we hear from public speakers now?
Yeah, of course. Welcome to Good morning. We'll make this quick. Public comment section. We have 6 members of the public registered to speak today. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to the MTA's rules of conduct and decorum. Public comments must pertain to the specific items on today's meeting agenda. I would also like to remind speakers that in interest of time and fairness to all, we'll limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. Our first speaker is Assemblymember Wright, followed by Chris Greif.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Assemblyman Jordan J.G. Wright, representing the 70th Assembly District, where we are right now, so welcome. And in addition to that, I will be, obviously part of this project will impact my district. And after generations of promises, the MTA is delivering. The 2nd Avenue subway is going to come to East Harlem. This project will serve 110,000 riders a day, one of the deepest, most transit-dependent neighborhoods in the state of New York. 70% of Harlemites rely on public transportation. This neighborhood needs the 2nd Avenue subway, and today, awarding contract 2, the most ambitious phase of this work yet, the tunneling under Manhattan that will make this project possible. East Harlem is a historically underserved neighborhood, home to one of the largest concentrations of affordable housing residents in the United States. And, this will be an important project for the whole country, because as Harlem goes, New York State goes, the rest of the country goes. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Assemblymember. Our next speaker is Chris Greif.
Sorry. Good morning, everyone. Christopher D. Greif, and I'm here to support the 2nd Avenue subway for a lot of very important reasons. Down this road here, we have agencies here from Dayhab programs, loves getting on the trains. Now with adding a 2nd Avenue subway, it will increase their traveling to stay on a train that goes into Brooklyn and to other parts of Manhattan. I am very happy, and that's why I wear this hat, because when Phase 1 was completed, it gave me another way of getting home or going up to a station like 72nd, 86, and 96. As a person with a disability, I really cannot wait to get on Phase 2. We need this for seniors, people with disabilities, and let's not forget our veterans who are here, and a lot of the seniors who love to maybe even just go to Coney Island on the Q train to get a Nathan's hot dog and go get a chance to see the Coney Island fireworks as well. I'm here to support this 1,000,000%. My fellow colleague, let her rest in peace, Edith Prentice, wanted this, and I will continue what I have to do to advocate. So our elected officials here, please let's make sure that we get full support of this, including updating our trains and buses. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Diane Collier.
Good morning, everyone. As the chair of Uptown Grand Central, I have already submitted our quote for the press release, but now I'm standing before you as a community leader of Harlem and East Harlem. So I want to tell you, I like what I am hearing and seeing since I've been working with, of course, the MTA on this project. And let me just say also how they have been including our input as they go along on this project. Let me give you some examples. 20% local hiring requirement. Never before have we had that in any contracts, not just with MTA, but a lot of other contracts. Affordable housing at East 125th Street, Lexington location. A grand 2nd Avenue station at Park Avenue, befitting the legendary 125th Street and as well as the co-naming of Martin Luther King Boulevard. See, I live in the area. I see what you don't see every day. On the Park Avenue Viaduct, when they told us they couldn't hire locally, well, lo and behold, I'm walking with my nephew, and what do I see? A crew of color on the cranes. I also have worked with Metro North, believe it or not, who can be quite stubborn sometimes as they going through the viaduct, on community issues of sanitations, pigeon, and business interruption issues. And they are trying to work with us. And for me personally, I would just like to add, I love the fact that you have named the 110th Street Malcolm X Boulevard. Thank, of course, to our Senator Cordell. I'm encouraged, okay? I really am encouraged. But are you where we want you to be? No. But you're better than what you used to be. So, but I want you to let you know, you're not off the hook. Because this community and I will be watching you. We will be prodding you to ensure that the benefits promised and discussed will be realized. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lisa Daglian.
Hi, good morning. I'm Lisa Dagley, and I'm the Executive Director of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA PCAC. We're in historic Harlem in the historic Adam Clayton Powell Jr. office building, where you'll take action on a project a century in the making that will not only make history, but improve the quality of life for hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers. It's an excellent reason to extend Harlem Week. The 2nd Avenue subway has been an unkept promise for too long, especially for East Harlemites. Originally proposed over 100 years ago, we finally saw light at the end of the tunnel in 2017, but only to 96th Street. This contract will allow the next phase to move forward, keeping promises made when the 2nd Avenue L was demolished. And it won't be the 2nd Avenue subway construction we might have seen when shovels first went into the ground in the 1970s. Thanks to Governor Hochul's persistence and money, utility relocation and other essential preliminary work is already underway. The new contract that you will approve today is for tunneling and structural shells, but that's really a dry synopsis. Improved technology and equipment will allow for more advanced tunnel boring and construction. Labor agreements will mean $100 million in savings. Using and adapting existing platforms and previously created spaces means savings in both time and money. And using station spaces wisely will also help keep costs down, ensuring, of course, that there's parity among stations along the line. And the contract includes 20% local hire, which will benefit hundreds of Harlem residents. Much of the construction of this building did. I recall coming to the MTA Board Meeting in 1999 with then Manhattan Borough President C. Virginia Fields to deliver 15,000 postcards in support of construction of the 2nd Avenue subway now. Then, today, we're going to be realizing construction to 125th Street. I cannot wait to get on board. Thank you.
Our final speaker will be Senator Clear.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Come on. Thank you, MTA Board, for convening this special meeting here in Harlem. I want to thank Governor Hochul, our federal partners, my colleagues in the legislature, and the MTA for making this day a reality. I'm always excited to hear of progress on the Second Avenue subway, particularly the all-important Phase 2 being dedicated accessible, modern subway service to East Harlem for the first time in history, and ending its long-suffering status as a transit desert. Our community deserves this. Those who have long called El Barrio home now have a wonderful place. They know it's a wonderful place to live, create, dine, and open small businesses, shop, go to school. While we greatly welcome the advancement of this project, we just want to make sure, and I want to make sure, I think it's important for the board to hear, to bear in mind certain essential factors. I'm very excited about the 20% local hiring, but I would like that to be not the goal. I'd like really 30% to be the floor, and let us get as much local hiring as we possibly can into this project. This is the community that has suffered without transportation. This is the community that is in need of jobs. We want to make sure that we're hiring Black and brown people, that they can start careers that are good paying jobs, so that they can afford to continue to live in this community. So I really would like to have further discussions on how we can get that number up. We want to make sure that there's full-scale mitigation plans for noise and dust and pests and rats and other things like that. And I know that you're working with Diane Collier and the local organizations to make sure that we're mindful of that, support our local businesses, arts, cultural groups, and all the existing institutions during construction. We know from the history of this construction that it can be a problem for a lot of the businesses. We've learned a lot of things, and I just want us to be prepared to make sure that we support our businesses in the very best way we possibly can. And as long as we have clear and compelling plans in place to address these issues, I know it's going to be a great project. Thank you so much. I got to shout out Malcolm X Plaza. The community is just really reeling over that, and I know they're going to be reeling over the Second Avenue subway, especially with the jobs and possibilities of business opportunities that can come to this community, as well as housing. Let's not forget that. And we want to make sure that people in this community can afford to live in that housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair Lieber, that concludes our public comment session.
Yeah, I want to thank the public speakers who are folks that we work with all the time, and especially the elected officials who have been advocating for this project for a very long time and are great supporters. So we do look forward to working with you, Senator, and your colleague in the Assembly who spoke, and all the electeds to make sure that we execute this project as a model for how we can do things in tandem with the community. And a special shout out to my old friend, Diane Collier. We worked, when I came to the MTA, running the construction operation that Jamie now heads so ably. We got to know each other very quickly and have been waiting for this moment together for a very long time. So real big tip of the hat to the folks at Uptown Grand Central and everybody who works on the 125th Street corridor to make things come true. We're going to take a very brief pause before we move to the business of the meeting, a little logistics pause, and be back in a matter of a couple minutes. Thanks. First of all, I got to say, Governor, thank you for having us at the Harlem State Office Building. We are thrilled to be here in the heart of historic Harlem, not just in a building named after Adam Clayton Powell, but also looking at the Hotel Teresa, which for many people represents the heart of historic Harlem. So thank you again for having us. We have been together, you and I, a lot recently, and there's a reason. Since you pushed through the historic MTA capital program, we've been celebrating amazing milestones. So I just have to say, not just for the Second Avenue subway, but for everything you have done, you have put us in a position where the MTA is about to embark on some of the most ambitious change-making investments in all of our history and in New York's history, and nothing could be more representative than this project. So thank you, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Thank you for also confirming to me that leadership does matter. And you've driven this organization to new heights, and I could not be prouder to partner with you as we take on the transportation challenges of today, but also lean hard into tomorrow. So future generations will look back at this time and say, yes, the leadership and the MTA board, and I'm grateful for all your support here and all the members who are your team's extraordinary staff. You're going to look back, and they're going to look back and say, this was an era of what some are calling abundance, but it's how we've always done things here. You know, we're not afraid of anything, and I want to thank everyone for the audacity which we bring to these projects, and all of you. And I know we're joined by Senator Cordell Clear, who's an incredible champion of her community. We spent a lot of time together. I want to thank her for joining us, and Assembly Member Jordan Wright, and also newer member, but is really making his mark. And I want to appreciate my partners in government who I don't operate alone. We have a lot of work to do together as we head back into the next session in a few months, but we'll be there. So really proud to be here at a special meeting. And it's called a special meeting technically, but it really is a special meeting. Here we're pushing forward another transportational project. And I will say this is long overdue. I don't know if there's too many people in this room alive when they first started talking about this. I think it goes back many, many generations, perhaps 80 years. But I also, as I think about how long this has been a journey, I also have to think back to someone who really brought this to my attention in a very profound way, which is Congressman Adriano Espaillat. Starting with when he took me underground, and we were down there one of my first days as governor, and to see that the work had been started. I mean, there was a vision. People thought they were going to move forward with this, and all of a sudden it just stopped. And so I want to thank him for all his hard work. But it's been about a century, I think, that people were promised a new station here, and nearly 80 years since they tore down the elevated railroad, which this community had relied upon. And as I look back at the history, a lot of governors came and went, and sometimes a project just seems too big, or that perhaps they didn't think that this community was as important as others and did not make those investments. And I'm so proud that that era is over, that this is a community that matters, and this is another way we're telegraphing our strong interest in the full renaissance of Harlem, which is extraordinary. So I think this, for the people of East Harlem, the time of promises is over. We are moving down the tracks as quickly as we possibly can. And I know we're about to approve a $2 billion contract. Now, I asked what the contract actually is, and people said it's a boring contract. I said, well, anything related to the Second Avenue subway can't possibly be boring. And they laughed because I actually knew what a boring contract was, but I was pretending I didn't. And it's not boring, it's exciting. But it's $2 billion to show that this is a serious commitment. You don't do that without knowing that you're going to go forward. So this century of inaction is finally over. And this has been a top priority of mine because I've spent a lot of time in this community, 8 years as lieutenant governor and as governor. It's a community that has an abundance of potential, but also there have been barriers to people having access to the better paying jobs elsewhere, and it's such a long commute for individuals, and whether it's getting to school or doctor's appointment or a better paying job. And so we wanted to make sure that we could show that we could cut through the bureaucracy and all the red tape, but it also took significant funding. And I congratulate all of you and my partners in state government for helping deliver this very ambitious capital plan, $68.4 billion, which is allowing this to happen. And part of the funding does come from congestion pricing. It's working. We know that. Send our friends in Washington a message. It is working. And we know that traffic is down and business is up and people are happy. And I'm really proud that we stuck with that and, had to have our break to address the pricing and other issues, but we got to where we needed to go, and I think there's no looking back now. So again, this is a project that sends a strong message and to save people time. And I also look at these projects, Jano, as not just about saving the time for people, but connecting people and communities. And that's why we look at, some of the other projects we're championing, the Interborough Express. We're down there, and everybody's so excited about the possibility. And the world has changed a lot, where the outer boroughs were the outer boroughs, but everybody gravitated toward Manhattan, and that's what our transit system did. It didn't acknowledge the fact that someone in Brooklyn may actually work in Queens or have a family member or an event or gathering with friends. And so we're creating a connection where there has not been one ever. And this is another one of those products. These are my favorite products, the ones that someone proposed 100 years ago, or this is 30 years ago. And we are the administration that collectively can get it on the move. And so we're going to continue looking for the tough projects. Give us the harder ones, the ones that others walk away from and say it's just too much, too expensive, too ambitious, and maybe this community doesn't have enough political clout. Well, they all have political clout in my mind. These are all of our constituents, and they deserve the very best in transit options possible. So, I just want to tick through a couple of the quick accomplishments before we get to today. But, just think back. I think it's, what's the date? I think it's 4 years ago. In a couple of days, I became governor. Yeah. Just a couple. It's almost my 4-year anniversary of being governor, but. They had already started, but delivered the completion of the Long Island Railroad, the third track, and that's been extraordinary as I ride out there often. The one-seat ride to the east ride from Grand Central Madison, how beautiful is that? I mean, that's a huge point of pride, and people are just, those who've never seen it before, are just stunned how magnificent it is. And the long-stalled Gateway Tunnel. This is an early conversation I had when I was the new governor, working with my partner across the river in New Jersey, and for too long, there was just these clashes between governors and presidents and governors again, and it's like, put aside all this, I won't say what I was going to say, put it all aside, all the opposition, and just roll up your sleeves and get it done. Like, why don't we just get stuff done? So that's on the way, and that's really exciting, been talked about for a long time. And the Midtown Bus Terminal, let's move ahead on that, first proposed in 2007. So that's starting. So what I want to just simply say is, this project hopefully will restore people's faith in our capacity and our desire to get the big transformational projects done. And this is right at the top of the list. And it is complex, and it's going to take some time and some money. But when this is all finished, as the other transformational projects that we all rely on now, those who came before us had the dream, had the vision, and had the ability to get it done. We are also in that same category. And this is going to be another hallmark of success, not just for our administration, but also for the MTA overall and for the community. This is a big success for the community overall. So thank you. I was really proud to be able to participate in this, and I look forward to hearing your remarks as well, Jano. Thank you.
Governor, thank you for highlighting the fact that under your leadership, the MTA is delivering projects one after another that have been talked about for a long time, and now are getting done. You named a few. I'll name a few more in my remarks, but this has really become a hallmark of the Hochul era, and it's one of the reasons that I say that under your leadership, the MTA has done more than at any time since maybe Governor Rockefeller formed the MTA. This has been a transformative golden age for the MTA, and we just are so grateful. I'm also grateful to my board members, because normally we don't have an August meeting, and yet you're here. Some of you with the tans from the vacations that you left, Mr. Fleischer. But really grateful for you showing up on short notice and always being great supporters of the MTA and making sure that we stay on our toes and execute well. So big tip of the hat to the board. The governor said it, the people of East Harlem have waited long enough. The contract before us today would be the largest tunneling contract ever awarded by the MTA, and the first of its kind, Governor, to do use the design-build methodology, which is the way that we now take really complicated projects and make sure that you don't have the designer and the people who are doing the building run into each other and argue about what's viable, but using that unification of design and construction to make sure we do it as quickly and efficiently as possible. This project, ladies and gentlemen, damn good investment. Big number, damn good investment. It is in the same price range. You know, there's always been debate about the Second Avenue Subway Phase 1 because Phase 1 did show many of the shortcomings of the traditional way of doing projects. This project, not only is it design build, but it is on par price-wise with international major tunneling projects, and it is by far the lowest cost per rider of any heavy rail project in the United States. People sometimes like to talk about cost per mile, but a lot of our cost is driven by the fact that we carry so many more people in these projects than anywhere else, and that is indicative of why this project is important and why it's such a good investment. I want to thank Jamie, who's going to speak in a few minutes with some more detail on the team for working around the clock to get this done while managing the utility relocations. Another step that we learned from the first thing, we got to move the utilities, a lot of which are from the 19th century, out of the way before you start actually trying to build and bore the new tunnels. That has been a cost savings and a schedule savings to this project. But Sib, Kurt, Sean Fitzpatrick, Mitch Schwartz, many others, is a huge team that has brought us to this moment. We're not afraid to do the hard stuff, Governor, just as you say, under your leadership. With a $68 billion capital plan, we have the opportunity to create a better system for 15 million people who depend on the MTA to live their lives. You always say it. It's about time savings. It's about a little extra time for exercise or whatever the things are that you value in life. And it also is the engine that powers this regional economy. Golden age for the MTA, not just the IBX, which you've talked about so eloquently. Metro North Penn access through the Bronx, a project that we are forging ahead on, though we are struggling a little bit because Amtrak controls the right-of-way, and that's always a drama, but that is a huge and important project to connect the people of the East Bronx to jobs and education and medical care and everything the region has to offer. You talked about the amazing benefit of these investments in Long Island that have taken place, third track, double track, Grand Central Madison, and how it's all paying off. In the month of July, the Long Island Railroad carried over 90% as many people as pre-COVID. Even in the era of hybrid work, Long Island Railroad is pushing pre-COVID levels ahead of every other mass transit operation in the United States, and so much more. We couldn't do it without your partnership. I've talked a lot about that, but I have to make an acknowledgement. The federal government is supporting this project. Not only the Biden administration greenlighted it, but this new administration under President Trump has also included it in their budget, and we need to acknowledge their support and partnership as we move forward as well with newly confirmed FTA Administrator Mark Molinaro. But a big thanks to, as you mentioned, Congressman Espaillat, who has been, passionate supporter of this project, but also Senator Schumer, our guardian angel in Washington, and the entire New York delegation. I just close by saying that, we are perennially, the MTA is perennially looked at to do more and to do better. And we are doing that. Ridership is up. We've helped to support the revival of the Central Business District, which was an early priority of yours 4 years ago. Service is better without getting to every little detail. On-time performance across the board is much better. We're getting projects done. And in the Hochul era, we're making transformative investments like those we have today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie Torres Springer, but again, a huge thank you to Governor Hochul for hosting us and for being with us all the time.
Thank you very much. I do want to just say one more thing. You neglected to talk about how safe the subways have become. Every single train having a camera.
Yeah.
That was a huge priority. As I said, we have to get that done. So I tell people you're being watched. Make sure that you behave yourselves. And the fact that I believe it was July had the lowest crime rate
Yeah.
in recorded history on our subway. Also where the state is covering the cost of 2 NYPD officers every night, covering the cost of their overtime every night on the overnight trains, and so crime is going down. So what we're doing is talking about infrastructure today, but there's also the psychology of the subway system and the MTA overall, which I believe is trending in a much better direction, as at least the statistics bear out a story which is far more positive than it was when I first became governor 4 years ago. So thank you to everyone and your entire team for making that success happen as well. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate what you do. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
So with that, let me invite Jamie Torres-Springer, the president of MTA Construction Development, to present some more details before we take the board action. Jamie.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everyone. And we're, we're very grateful to the governor for, not only the support for this project, but the great confidence that she showed in our agency that we've established at the MTA to deliver better, faster, and cheaper on all of the capital work that's been funded. I'm very proud to be here to announce major progress on the 2nd Avenue Subway project with the proposed award of the tunneling contract. I do have some slides that are going to pop up any second now, I'm sure. The day is a long time coming. The history is well known here, and the governor really highlighted it, so I won't dwell on it, but proposed in 1929 and sidelined by the Depression, sidelined again during World War II, even though the elevated was then torn down during that decade, sidelined again in the 1970s because of the city's fiscal crisis. The promise was left unfulfilled for almost a century. And of course, Phase 1 opened in 2017, and we talk about some of the delivery issues that we have overcome with this second phase, but that's been a great success. But the residents of East Harlem, the most transit-dependent community in the city, have been left without subway service until now. I'm sure the slides would make it all more compelling.
Okay, why don't we give our friends in the IT department a chance to get the slides up, so you can make a presentation and actually the one you intended to make.
Thank you.
All right.
I know what's on the slides. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here we go. That's great. Looks like the slides have joined us by Zoom. So I'm guessing that I can't click on this, but here we go. Okay. So as I said, the history and the promise of 2nd Avenue Subway left unfulfilled until now. The people of East Harlem deserve this service. With 70% of residents using public transit already, it's no surprise. We anticipate more than 110,000 daily riders on top of the 200,000 that we added riding Phase 1 today. These commuters stand to save up to 20 minutes each way on their commute with direct access to the west side of Manhattan. And the extension improves our regional transit network. The governor touched on this as well in significant ways, better connecting Metro North service and providing relief for the 4, 5, and 6, the Lexington line. The chair spoke to this. This is all what makes this project one of the best investments in transit out there in the world right now. We're often asked about the per mile cost of this, and we've been very vigilant about keeping costs under control. I'm going to get to that in a moment. But the cost is really driven by the high number of riders that have to be accommodated in stations and with life safety systems. The right way to measure the value for a project like this is cost per average daily rider, where this project, as you can see, is the most cost-effective mega project in the United States and ranks in line or ahead of major world investments. So that's why we aren't waiting to deliver this tremendously valuable project anymore. Thanks to the governor and thanks to the leadership of the MTA, We're delivering it. In 2023, we reached the full funding grant agreement with the federal government, matching $3.5 billion of state investment funded by congestion relief. We're consistently meeting the milestones that we have set. In 2024, we started work on Contract 1, early works and utility relocation, a vital first step and a lesson learned from Phase 1. Get those utilities out of the way as quickly as we can and as far in advance as we can so that we can come in and get the rest of the work done. Today, we're announcing something a lot bigger, the award of Contract 2, which will, it's been said, construct the physical station areas at 116th Street and 125th Street, adapting the existing 1970s tunnel at 116th Street, and then digging the tunnel in between 116th and 125th, also excavating the spaces that we need for life safety systems and station entrances along the way. We've been preparing for this moment for years. Let me take a moment to talk about how today's award fits into our relentless focus on delivering better, faster, and cheaper at the MTA, the new MTA. First, we created C&D as a capital agency to tackle big, complex projects like this, and I'd remind the board that since the creation of C&D, we've saved $3 billion across the capital program. We've built an experienced team of industry-leading experts, a couple of them sitting next to me today. The individuals leading this program bring nearly 200 years of collective experience running mega projects across many countries and continents. I'm joined today by our program executive, Sib Rizwan, who comes to us from most recently running a $1 billion underground transportation project in the Middle East, and a tunnel expert who's the executive for this contract, Kurt Egger. We'll hear from them in a second. We've worked relentlessly across the 2nd Avenue Subway Phase 2 program to control cost and schedule by only building what is really necessary, not a single square foot of back-of-house space that isn't required, by reusing the 1970s tunnel that was left to us, as we mentioned. Among other measures, those have already generated $1.3 billion in savings. And as Jano said, this is a design-build project, which means we have had full engagement from the contractors who really know how to get projects built, and will continue to do so with this award. And we used a related best value procurement method, as you'll hear from our general counsel in a moment, that included dozens of meetings and opportunities for the competing proposers to suggest ways to deliver the project more efficiently. We've had the top builders in the industry and the top public capital delivery and contracting officials sitting at the table for months figuring out how we could use cutting-edge means and methods to deliver this project. Kurt, can you give us a couple of quick examples of the innovations that have come out of this?
Yes, so
You need a microphone. Now it's off.
okay, can you hear me? Yeah, perfect. All right. So in our discussions with the contractors, we have brought up several cost savings, and two of the major ones were the elimination or the reduction of cross passages from 6 to 2. Cross passages are the connections between tunnels that are particularly difficult to build, since you have already tunnels built by the tunnel boring machine, and you have to break into that liner that they leave behind to make these connections. So a reduction of the number is a major cost and time savings. Another savings opportunity was utilized when we allowed the contractors not to fully extract all components of the TBM machines. The TBM machines end their runs halfway between Malcolm X Boulevard and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard, and leaving these components in place allowed us to design a smaller cross passage at the end of the tunnels. And since this is particularly difficult ground, this resulted in cost savings and schedule certainty. So these were the two examples.
Great, thank you. And in addition to those innovations, we've also been working with and really pushing partners in labor to make sure that we deliver the project as efficiently as possible. That means increasing productivity and getting more out of each hour of work while maintaining excellent safety standards. And what we'll see when we get to the next slide is the results of this, which is a better, faster, and cheaper project. The tunnel, here's some big headlines about cost savings. There we are. The tunnel crew will be 40% smaller overall than in phase one. Our independent program manager estimates we will save $100 million from labor efficiencies. And this all translates to about a 3% reduction in tunnel costs from phase one. There are two big drivers here. One is technology, and the other is improved labor rules. I want to ask Sib to speak about the technology improvements from our tunnel boring machine, our tunnel boring process this time around.
Thank you, Jamie. To ensure on-time and on-budget delivery, we will be leveraging a cutting-edge solution, which is a variable density tunnel boring machine. There are two of them. They will be imported from Europe, and we're going to utilize them. The technology benefit is that this machine automates the excavation process and the tunnel lining process all at the same time. And also, it enables operations in mixed soil conditions and seamless mode transitions. So that's going to translate into massive labor savings, which Jamie just mentioned, adds up to almost $100 million. On the side, what we have also done is looked at our labor relations and the collective bargaining agreement with Local 147, which are the sandhogs. I'm glad to tell you that the mole premium has been eliminated. We have consolidated redundant roles with them. The holidays and the hours have been aligned, and the salary structure has been completed as well. All of this is going to impart efficiency in our operations and help us build bigger, faster, cheaper. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Sib. And I really want to extend my personal thanks to the Local 147, the Sandhogs. They have sat with us at the table. They have sat with the General Contractors Association. We've had an open dialogue for years about this contract, and they really came out and committed to achieving labor efficiencies. And as Sib mentioned, we have a negotiated agreement, collective bargaining agreement that allows us to do that. We're very optimistic about how smoothly this contract is going to go as a result. The result of that, one of the results, is that in partnership with our friends in labor, we're going to have a dramatically more efficient tunnel boring. Under phase one, we saw up to 26 workers operating the tunnel boring machine, which is in line with international benchmarks, I want to be clear, plus 10 to 12 additional workers installing the lining. So you, as Sib was saying, you're excavating the tunnel with the front of the machine, and in the back of the machine, you're putting in the precast lining. So 2 crews, that leaves you in the high 30s in terms of the amount of labor on those crews. For phase 2, 23 workers will be needed to operate both the machine and the tunnel, which is the 40% reduction in staffing. This is in line with or ahead of our peers across the United States and Europe. So that's a very important thing that we've achieved here. I want to be clear, we're not compromising our commitment to the community. We're making sure we're working hard to make sure that our East Harlem residents benefit from every part of the project, including its economic impact. This contract has that ambitious 20% local hiring goal to make sure we're connecting East Harlem residents to opportunity. And I want to note that we've had a great partnership, and Congressman Espaillat, the Senator, other elected officials have been instrumental in this. And they're represented here today with City College of New York and the Rangel Institute to create paid internship opportunities and pathways to apprenticeship within our various contracts, including this one. So that's a very big win for this community as we start to proceed with this project. It's part and parcel of our broader community outreach efforts here, which will be extensive and have been ongoing. As a result of all this effort, the project as a whole is on time and within budget, and as we work towards our 2032 revenue service date. Here's how it'll play out over time. Contract 1 is already underway, clearing the space for when we award Contract 3, which also, Contract 3 is in procurement. And Contract 3 will work in the same geography as Contract 1 later. Contract 2 is the next major step to create the tunnel, 116th Street and 125th Street station areas. You can see some of the upcoming activities. We will see initial work in the fourth quarter of this year, heavy construction starting next year, and the tunnel boring machine will be ordered. I'm assuming we come out of this meeting, our contractor will be pressing the button on that order, and we'll see it on site and drop it into the ground in early 2027. They will create those station areas to be handed over to the single contract 4 contractor who will do the fit out of the stations and the systems all in an integrated way. And that contract 4, is in full design now, so it will be ready and it will be sequenced with these other contracts as well. So, you know, we're very proud of how tight this all is and our ability to deliver it. That's all from me, and I'll hand it back to you, Chair, for the proposal.
Okay, so we're going to hear from the General Counsel actually formally presenting this as an item for the board to act on. But I just want to underscore a couple of things, because, you know, we make presentations and a lot of information flows very quickly, but those of you who have been with, you know, us for a couple of years know that we had to learn a lot from the shortcomings of the first Second Avenue subway project. So the key things you've heard from Jamie are figuring out how to use the workforce more efficiently, how to use technology. I mean, think of the significance. Not only are we boring the tunnel, but the same machine is coming in behind it and lining the tunnel with precast concrete. That is how you really save. We're talking about a 1/3 savings in workforce. That's a dramatic savings. Putting on top of the fact they've renegotiated with the sand hogs about all kinds of efficiencies and so on. Do not underestimate the significance of that. I talked about it earlier, that we got the utilities out of the way. The first phase of the Second Avenue subway struggled because they were always finding, I'm looking at my friend Mr. Gorodnik because you struggle with this too, underground utilities that were placed there in the 19th century and what we call as-built were not as actually built. All kinds of things were discovered. All kinds of things were discovered about where buildings encroach on the public way. The structure of underground buildings and cellars encroaches on the public way. All of that preparatory investigative geotechnical work, along with the moving of the utilities, has been done first. A great savings and a reduction of risk. You know, I just don't, one thing that Jamie said at the end bears emphasis as well. The first phase of the Second Avenue subway, you can tell I spent a lot of time on this when I was at C&D, right? The first phase of the Second Avenue subway had different contractors responsible for the systems, communications, electrical, everything, and the station fit-out, all the finishes in the station. You have two contractors basically working in the same space in the stations, and they ran into each other again and again and again, and it created delay after delay and cost after cost. That's been eliminated, and that the contract that is coming, with what Jamie described as contract 4, is going to unify those. All of these things are dramatic improvements that are based on the learnings from, we all love, I mean, those of us who live on the Q line especially, but we all love Second Avenue Subway Phase 1 for the extra mobility it delivered. Changed people's lives who get to use that and don't have to hoof it all the way to Lex. And it also spread out the crowding on the Lex line, which is a huge capacity improvement for our system. But we were determined to learn from the first go-round on the Second Avenue Subway, and Jamie and his team have made a lot of it. So I just couldn't resist pointing some of this out, because it's stuff I, too, spent a lot of time on. So thank you, Jamie. Evan Iceland will present the item.
Thank you, Chairman. And to point out, as we go into the business, we do have a quorum today, so.
Yeah, important point. We have a quorum of the board.
So I'm very excited today to be presenting two items in furtherance of Phase 2 of the Second Avenue Subway Project. The first item is a new design-build contract to Connect Plus Partners, a joint venture consisting of Halmar International LLC and FCC Construction, in the amount of $1,971,968,227, and for a duration of 1,471 calendar days. This contract, which we refer to as Contract 2 of Phase 2, provides for the construction of 2 bored tunnels and associated cross passages, the rehabilitation of existing tunnels, the excavation and construction of 7 shafts for the future ancillary buildings and station entrances, and the construction of the structural shells for the 116th and 125th Street stations. We had 2 very strong and experienced teams proposing on this project. During the RFP process, we met separately with representatives from Connect Plus and the other proposer, which was a joint venture between Skanska, Walsh, and Trailer, on multiple occasions. During those sessions, we discussed the contract requirements and monitored the proposers' progress in developing their proposals. In addition, we solicited from each of the proposers suggested changes to the contract documents. Those are referred to as alternative technical concepts, or ATCs, those that might reduce costs, shorten the project schedule, and/or mitigate risks. And both proposers submitted multiple ATCs suggesting revisions to both the technical requirements and the commercial terms, and we met with each of the proposers to discuss their respective ATCs. And then the MTA evaluated those ATCs, and we considered whether there were cost or schedule savings and the added risks that might be imposed by them. And we approved some of them, we approved some with conditions, and we rejected others. But in the end, over 30 of those ATCs were approved. Both proposers then submitted technical and price proposals, which incorporated the approved ATCs. The selection committee evaluated the proposals and invited both proposers to participate in negotiations. We went through 3 rounds of negotiations with each of the proposers, and at the conclusion of each round, we clarified the RFP documents and we sought revised proposals. And after the 3rd round, we asked for best and final offers, and we told both proposers that we would be making a selection based on those best and final offers. Upon receipt of the best and final offers, the selection committee met and unanimously concluded that Connect Plus partners offered the best value to the MTA. I want to emphasize that we had 2 very strong proposals from 2 highly competent teams, but in the end, we were recommending award to the team that presented the lowest price, the shortest schedule, and the least risk to the MTA. And just a note to point out that Halmar, which is one of the members of the Connect Plus joint venture, is also a member of the joint venture that's doing so well on the Park Avenue Viaduct contract. The other item that I'm presenting for approval is for the selection of Alliant Insurance Services as the broker for the placement of an owner-controlled insurance program. We call that an OSIP for the 2nd Avenue Subway Phase 2 program, and to authorize a not-to-exceed budget of $105 million for the insurance program for Contract 2. The program will provide general liability and excess liability coverage, workers' comp coverage, builders' risk coverage, and then FIMTAC, the MTA's captive insurer, will be utilized to cover losses within the retention levels. As a quick refresher, an OSIP is a centralized insurance program in which the project owner purchases and controls the insurance coverage for all qualified contractors and subcontractors working on the project. The result is a single coordinated program that reduces insurance costs, improves safety, and streamlines the insurance operations. To place this insurance, MTA solicited proposals from a panel of brokers, which was approved by the MTA Board in December of 2021. Alliant and Willis responded to the issued RFP, and Alliant was selected as the preferred broker because it offered significantly lower pricing than Willis. Both of these items are described in detail in the staff summary contained within your book, and I hereby submit them for your consideration and vote.
Okay, so we have 2 items on, that we have to act on. The first is the award of the, we're going to do it jointly now, I'm informed, the award of the Contract 2 to the Connect Plus partners for the Contract 2 of the 2nd Avenue Subway, and the second is the insurance item that Evan just described. At the end, I just note that our OSIP, thanks to some important work that Jamie and team have done, has also been shrunk in cost very significantly, and we're benefiting from it on this project. Can I invite board member comments or questions on any of this? Hayda Mahaltzis.
Good morning, and thank you. I'm looking at the staff summary. Can someone explain to me the $4 million stipend that's included?
Sure. So on these design-build projects, the designers, the proposers spend a lot of time and effort, and they almost have to bring their proposal to about a 30% design. They engage their contractors, their subs, and their designers in order to get them to participate fully and to develop these ATCs that we're talking about. We need to give them something. In this case, it's more than a smaller contract. You almost always see a stipend in our design-build contracts. This one's a little bit larger than usual, but so is the size of the contract.
So this was given to everyone who bidded?
It's only given to the unsuccessful proposer,
right.
and they had to have submitted a qualified proposal in order to get it.
So in this case, Skanska got okay.
Yes.
I'll just note that we get our money's worth here, in this case in particular, because all these ATCs, the alternative concepts that we talked about, the months of engagement, we've saved many tens of millions of dollars as a result of the engagement with the two contracting parties, particularly two top proponents in this case worked very closely with us.
And part of the benefit is, even if you lose in this competition, the ATCs, the suggestions for how to do things faster, better, and cheaper, we own those, and we could use the ones that were submitted by a losing bidder in executing a contract by a winning bidder, and we've done that again and again.
And we are here.
Blanca Lopez, followed by Mr. Garodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jamie and staff, thank you for your presentation. I think it's important, if you wouldn't mind, to just give a brief update as to where we are with the relocation efforts of property owners and/or tenant households who are being impacted by this project. Thank you.
Sure. A project like this in a very dense area is the reason it's so exciting to bring service here is the density. But of course, the density also means that there is some property that we need to acquire. We've really the most important thing I say is there is generous relocation assistance. We're going well above and beyond federal requirements for any relocation that's occurring, and we are committed to that, and we're ensuring that that's going to be the case. I'll also say that we have worked very hard to keep that to a minimum and to provide more than adequate notice, and we're really abiding by those commitments. The number of relocations is roughly half of what we saw in Second Avenue Subway Phase 1. It is a very small number. Of course, each relocation is consequential, and that's the reason that we treat it so carefully and that we have such generous relocation assistance.
Ms. Lopez.
Thank you. And considering this is a large award, it would be helpful if the board could receive updates on a frequently basis, just to see how the project is going.
Absolutely, and it's a project, actually, in addition to giving you these kind of board format updates, we should get you to put on the galoshes and go down and see it, because these kinds of projects are worth seeing, and all of us are learning as we go. So we're going to arrange tours as well as.
Just also note, it's on the Capital Program Committee agenda next month.
Yeah, and we have, and John reminds me, there are a couple of people who are dedicated in the IEC, which is our independent engineering consultant, who, is kind of a second opinion on what C&D is doing, who will be monitoring this contract and reporting back to the board directly on a regular basis. Mr. Garodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I wanted to recognize the learning that has happened since Phase 1. As you noted, there was complexity there. I represented the neighborhood in the city council and remember the electrical utility and other relocations that slowed things and made things complicated. So this is a real improvement. I wanted to just express my enthusiasm for this. It's a transformative investment that is not only critical transportation infrastructure, but it is also an economic development initiative. The opportunities that it presents are vast. Access for East Harlem residents, the 100,000+ people who will be able to ride this extension and this subway every day, but also the opportunity that it presents for jobs and also for housing. There is even a project already underway that we are working with the MTA on in the city that will be housing right above the entrance and exit for this extension at 125th Street. So this is transformative in a lot of ways. It will be great for this neighborhood, great for the city. So I am going to be enthusiastically voting yes today.
Really appreciate that. Thank you for not just what you're doing today, but the leadership that you displayed through that first phase of Second Avenue, which, as I say, we all are benefiting from, but was tough going at some points in that project. Mr. O'Donnell, followed by Mr. Glucksman.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations getting this to the starting line. All right, so well on its way. So, Jamie, can you tell us exactly the number of relocations?
I believe the current number is 33 units, but we'll confirm.
Okay, thank you. Also, I'm pleased to hear of the interns that are going to be involved with this and our partnerships with the local colleges. That's very important. Thank you.
You know, I'm nattering on a bit, but I just want to say what Jamie said about not only doing the internships, but making sure that the jobs that the local hiring jobs have a pathway. I'm looking over at my friend, Mr. Leathers, have a pathway to apprenticeships. That's the way to make sure that those kids or whoever it is of whatever age have a long-term middle-class lifestyle opportunity. It's not just hiring somebody to work on one project and, you know, maybe be a flagger or hold the stop sign or whatever, but to get them into the union so that they can have a long-term career with a trade is part of the goal for this project. And you're gonna see us doing a lot on that front, working with the Wrangell Institute at City College in large part. Mr. Glucksman.
Thank you. Great project. When I worked at Transit, we had very little minor involvement with the tunnels that you're going to finally expand. I just not familiar with the term cross passages and how is it going to affect the riders?
Jamie, do you want to?
Yeah, what was said is just that because we're boring 2 tunnels, so we do need some, we need some connection between the tunnels, but we've been able to keep them to a minimum. It won't have an impact on riders.
Thank you. If I could vote for the project, I would.
Okay. Other board members wishing to be heard? Okay. With that, there's an item on the floor. I'll make the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Hada, thank you. Which encompasses both Contract 2 of Second Avenue Subway and the insurance that will support it. May I have a vote? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition or abstention? The item carries, and we have a Second Avenue Subway tunnel boring contract. That honestly concludes the agenda for this this very abbreviated special board meeting. It is August. I just want to say again a huge thank you to our board members who dragged themselves in from wherever they are, some closer than others, Ms. Soren. But really appreciate folks making themselves available so that we could take this really important action and do it on time. And as I said earlier, we've been in touch with the federal government so that they're aware that we are moving this forward, and we, you know, in all fairness, appreciate their support as well. So with that, I'll take a vote for adjournment. Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Thank you, Mr. Mack. We are in adjournment. Bye-bye.
Oh, there we go. It's fired up. All right, everybody, we just got a few minutes. Jano's schedule is extremely tight. You can thank Dave Colon right here for getting us all together, because Dave called me over the weekend and said, we got to do a gaggle. So we're doing a gaggle. The first question is to Dave Colon from Streets Blog right here. Dave.
Let me at least highlight the fact that I'm joined by Jamie Torres-Springer, President of MTA Construction Development, CFO Jay Patel, and Sib, I'm not going to say, Rizwan, who is the program executive, overall program executive for Second Avenue Subway Phase 2, coming off a couple of mega projects in the Middle East. So with that, Tim, back to you.
Hi, Jano. I have a question not about the Second Avenue Subway, a less happy occasion here.
Can we do on topic first? I mean,
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go to Dave first, if we may, sir.
Okay.
One question, then we'll go on top.
It's important. Streetsblog has found out that the Tremont Avenue busway, which was supposed to go in this spring, was given a hard red light by the Adams administration recently, and I'm not sure if. Just wanted to ask if you'd been made aware of that by your partners in the Adams administration, and if you're frustrated by finding out that another busway project is apparently not happening.
Okay, I've not been made aware. I don't know whether somebody on our team was made aware, but the bigger picture, Dave, is along the lines of what you just suggested, which is I think that we all recognize that it is time for everybody who has a role in bus performance to take steps to make good on the commitments that we made, but also the City of New York made, including in a law, to make sure that buses can move more quickly. And that involves busways, bus lanes, in addition to the work that we've been able to do with automatic camera enforcement. So we do need cooperation from the folks who control the streets, and that means the City of New York, on making buses faster. I talked to my brother of that. My brother's doing a lot of work where he's moving east-west in the Bronx, and he's talking about the problem of traffic and how buses are bunching and they're being delayed because they're mixed in with general traffic. So this was actually a just personal conversation this weekend, and we do have to make places like Tremont Avenue faster for buses.
All right, thanks. Let's go on topic now. We've got Andrew Siff here, is from WNBC4. Andrew, on topic. All right, Andrew yields to Newton Jones Burkett III, who is on topic right there from Channel 7. That's never happened before. It'll never happen again. Newt.
No, never again, clearly. Andrew, thank you for that. Mr. Lieber, would you please raise your right hand and promise the riders that Phase 2 will be done on time?
What I can say, Newt, that's kind of a characteristic wise guy comment, but I'll tell you this. What you heard today is that unprecedented steps have been taken to make sure that the things that slow down Phase 1 do not slow down Phase 2. So, and they're also, to start with, the contractor has incredible incentives in this contract and a lot of penalties to make sure that they stay on schedule, not just at the end, but all of the major milestones along the way have huge incentives and penalties built into them. But what you also heard is that we have attacked the core issues that had impact on Phase 1, which is the lack of knowledge about the below-grade conditions, especially the utilities, the geotechnical conditions, the use of technology to make sure that you don't have to freeze the ground like they had to in Phase 1 because they didn't know that there were some areas of soft ground. The boring machine that's going to be used will be able to keep going, whether it's bedrock or soft ground. So that's a rare combination and technological advancement. The efficiencies that have also been identified with respect to the labor contracts, the fact that we're aligning all of the workforce is going to be operating on the same holidays. Sounds simple, but when you have multiple unions that have different union contracts, that's a big issue. So we have taken steps to make sure that we do deliver this project on schedule. And what I'd say to the riders is, you ain't seen nothing yet about how this project can move much more quickly and deliver for a ton of people who are way overdue to get mass transit access.
All right, next up, Sam Liebman right there from New York 1. Samantha.
Hi, just a technical question. The governor says there's a savings of 10% over the last phase, but you've also said it's a 3% savings. So what is the correct number?
The overall, the cost of Second Avenue Subway Phase 2 is 10% savings versus Phase 1. That includes, as we've mentioned, the $1.3 billion that we found from improving the scope, not building anything we don't need to build, reusing the old tunnels, bringing the contracts down to a much more manageable number where they're not going to get in the way of each other. That's an overall savings. And then we find that our tunneling cost is a 3% savings over Phase 1. And that's really driven by the fact that we have crew size that is going to be 40% smaller.
All right, back to the West Coast where Evan Simcoe Bednarski is standing by from your New York Daily News. Evan.
Good morning. Unsurprisingly, maybe a bit of a technical question, but the plan to leave pieces of the TBM in place when they finish their run. I understand that there's still a lot of planning and a lot of study that needs to go on before there's any kind of serious consideration of a westward expansion, but will those pieces in place be an assistance if you decide to keep digging, or because there's some partial deconstruction of the TBMs and you're only leaving some parts in place, is this mostly a cost savings matter?
Yes, they would be of assistance.
Thank you.
All right, back to Haley Brown. We're on topic, right, Haley, from the New York Post. There we go.
Why are we bothering to build the Second Avenue subway instead of repairing the trains and tunnels that we have now?
Okay. My predecessor used to say I reject the premise of the question. The way that the MTA capital program has both state of good repair and expansion elements. The MTA capital program has a lot less emphasis and a lot less proportion, money-wise, on expansion than it used to. So we are doing more proportionally for state of good repair, which is repairing the existing system. But we still do have projects that are essential expansion projects, and two of those are Second Avenue Subway Phase 2 and the Interborough Express, and those are included in our capital program, both the current one, 25 to 29 capital program, and the prior one.
All right, Ramsey Khalifa right here from WNYC Gothamist. We're also on topic. Ramsey.
Good morning. Jamie, I think I saw previous reporting about Phase 1. There was a total of $10 million allocated for relocation assistance. Do we have a dollar figure, and was that part of the first contract of just the total amount of money that we're spending to relocate people?
We don't have a specific dollar figure. I will just say that we are committed to ensuring that the relatively small number of tenants who have to be relocated for a project of this magnitude get adequate relocation assistance. We have ensured that they have substantial notice. It is not accurate that they've only been given 90 days notice. In fact, they were given notice that they had more than 90 days. So that reporting was inaccurate. But we are committed to ensuring generous relocation assistance for that group of tenants.
All right, swinging back to the East Coast, we got Greg Mocker standing by there from your news at 10 on Pix 11.
On that same topic, how were you able to reduce the number of relocations? Was it due to the design or the differences from Phase 1?
Yes, it's through the design, we were able to undertake some acquisitions that are larger scale, vacant properties. For example, the Pathmark site that Chair Garodnick mentioned will become a source of very significant new mixed income housing over the course of the project. So some of those larger sites, and then figuring out how to build the tunnel efficiently underneath 2nd Avenue, underneath 125th Street, and the ancillary buildings that accompany it. It all enabled us to minimize the amount of acquisition required.
All right, we got time for two more. Jose Martinez from the city is right back here in the checked shirt. Jose.
Good morning, everyone. Following up a little bit on the real estate.
Can we just say happy birthday to Jose?
Happy birthday. Oh, wow.
Thanks, I
You get for
appreciate
being in Politico.
Boy, good sources. So we're talking a little bit about the relocation element. Could you speak in terms of the properties in the path of this progress? Are they all purchased now? Is how much eminent domain was used here? In short, what's left on the real estate front?
We're working our way through it. There's again, it's a handful of properties that we haven't yet acquired, and then there's a set of easements that we require and agreements to underpin property or put vibration monitoring on it. So we've got a great team that's working on it, and we're making progress. The way I'd summarize it is it's not in the way of any of this work getting done.
It's an important point, though, Jose. Again, if you look back at the press covering Second Avenue Phase 1, property acquisition was frequently a cause of schedule delay, and we are way, way ahead of where that project was in terms of acquisitions. Not everything has been completed, but it's no secret to this press corps. Cranes, for example, and a couple of other outlets have been covering as we move through the property acquisition process that's been going on for several years now.
All right, we got time for one more. We're going to bookend, sir, with one off topic. We start and end. It's Alfonso Castillo, who has maneuvered here from Long Island. Alfonso with Newsday.
Hi, Jano. Last week, the National Mediation Board released 5 Long Island Railroad unions from mediation. The next step, short of a presidential emergency board, could be a strike. Does the MTA plan to request a presidential emergency board? And also, I'd just be interested in your thoughts on where things are.
Listen, I premature for me to answer the question, and that is obviously a decision that would be made in tandem with the governor, who's part of the PEB process. But I'll tell you this, what we're concerned about is the riders, and I think Mr. Minton's statement over the weekend encapsulated our position, which is we do not understand why a pretty small group of unions representing very much a minority of Long Island Railroad workers and a tiny minority of the overall MTA workforce is insisting that they should get a better deal than everybody else, including hundreds of thousands of New York City and New York State workers, that they should be exempt from the pattern that everybody else has been following. We are completely confused by their position, and we're also confused by why the National Mediation Board would reward their intransigence and refusal to negotiate based on the same terms that everybody else has been working on by releasing them. So that we are, and we're going to stick up for the riders, and we're going to make sure that we talk about the fact that these are unions that have some of the most abusive work rules anywhere in the MTA system. The idea that somebody should get paid, double just because they drove a diesel train as well as an electric train on a single day, or that they drove the train that they were operating into the yard and get double time for that, has always been a source of frustration for us, and we're going to continue to raise the fact that the abusive work rules that are enjoyed and insisted on by these couple of unions have to be addressed.
All right, thank you, Jano, Jamie, Jay, and Sib. Thanks, everybody. Good. A quick technical question on the boring machine. There you go. That's how you get one last question.
Of this story, in my opinion, but how fast does it move?
We're targeting anywhere between like 35 to 40 feet a day, so that will be the advance rate. It varies based on the soil conditions. It can go faster in rock, in granular soils it's a little slower. But on an average, I'd say about 40 feet.
All right, everybody.
We've got an extra question, so he has to lead happy birthday for Jose.
All right, we're going to sing happy birthday when we turn the cameras off on the feed to Jose Martinez. Have a great morning, everybody from Harlem.